Discipline, law of the disciple, rule of the ashram, that sounds a bit like constriction and oppression to me.
That is completely wrong. You must not, under any circumstances, perceive the subjection to spiritual discipline as compulsion. Then entering the ashram would be worthless. If you experience the customs of the higher culture that prevails here as a burden, you do not belong here by your very nature. You are living in the house of your Father, your true, spiritual, eternal Father in heaven. Like the 12-year-old Jesus in the temple, you should say,
Was it not clear to you that my right place was in my Father's house?
There where your beloved Father dwells, you want to live too. It is your highest bliss to be close to Him and to share in the sanctity of His abode, which is created precisely by the rule. If it does not fill you with joy and enthusiasm to live here, you are out of place here. Then your heaven is somewhere else. Finally, it is impossible to walk the higher path otherwise than with joy.
One does not go far by growling. Austere is the path of approach to brotherhood. Earthly joys leave us, but much higher and deeper joys come to take their place. However, one must learn to grow up to them, to the joy of the nearness of the white brotherhood, the joy of the possibility of cooperation with them. The joy of constant broadening and deepening of the understanding of life and active cosmic laws. Likewise, there is no small joy from contacts with the harmonious hearts of the closest friends and co-workers. This is still very abstract and quite far removed from my everyday life. Could you not give us a practical example from today's time? Let us take a look at Helena Röhrig. She spent the last approximately 20 years of her life away from the world, in the Himalayas, in the Kulu Valley, near the Mahatmas. From there, she guided the co-workers and Agni Yoga groups in America and Europe by letter. Even the receipt of such a letter from her hand was a privilege to be envied. Even greater was the honor to visit Helena Röhrig for a few weeks or even months in the Kulu Valley. It was only granted to the very few who were ready for it. Again, there were some little jealousies. Who is closest to her? Who is allowed to see her when, how often, and how long? Why is he allowed to go, but not me? Now, imagine you are invited to spend some time with this great teacher. Will not these be the most beautiful and most important days of your life? You will quite naturally and as a matter of course adapt to the customs of this place. You will get up early in the morning together with Helena Röhrig, do some physical exercises with her, invoke the brotherhood, meditate, and read the teaching. You will quite naturally and as a matter of course imitate her outward life in all its details. For example, as far as food and the rhythm of the day are concerned. This is brought about necessarily alone by living together with her. You will be proud and happy to be able to participate in her great work, to take upon you some of her tasks, and to be entrusted with certain assignments, for example, writing letters or making translations. You will actually be eager to receive instructions on how to perfect yourself and about the next steps on your personal spiritual path. In her presence, under her supervision, which comes naturally from living together, you will diligently practice the exercises she imposes on you, because you feel how you are growing thereby a little bit every day. Rough, unworthy behavior, irritability, negligence, impurity, anger, insults, roaring, or even aggressiveness prohibit themselves in her presence. Thus, you are raised solely by being allowed to live together with her in the sublime atmosphere of her world, where certain things are simply inadmissible. In the Kulu Valley, this sacred place, there are no tobacco, alcohol, meat or chocolate, no restaurants, easygoing girls, and no football matches. Thus, if you have not given up the desire for these or similar pleasures yet, you will have to leave her abode. Actually, because you will be ashamed secretly through the back door and walk a few miles to the next village. You then have to flee the sanctuary and give up the proximity to the teacher. But do you really think you could approach Helena Röhrig on your return, smelling of beer or cigarettes, with an aura saturated with worldly desires? That is simply unthinkable. If you have retained at least a spark of sensitivity, you will not dare to pollute her and her abode in this way, and she would not allow that either, though not in order to discipline or to punish you, but to protect herself and the holy place. By accepting a disciple, the teacher includes him in his consciousness and establishes with him an invisible but active bond. From that very moment, the teacher knows at any instant what is happening to his disciple. He can even know his fleeting thoughts and can direct him accordingly. Therefore, it must be understood how hard, how unbearable for the high consciousness of the teacher would be any disharmonious vibrations caused by unpurified thoughts of the disciple. How inadmissible, under such a close, sacred bond with the teacher, would be any still not outlived lust. Every disharmonious vibration cuts into the current of this bond, and, if repeated, can break it altogether. You see, there is no compulsion. Rather, living together with a high spirit, by its very nature, gives rise to certain unalterable necessities. If you wish to stay in this heaven, you cannot help but abstain from everything that renders impossible the community with the high beings living here. Nobody is disciplining you. Nobody punishes you. You yourself destroy your own happiness, should you be so much a slave to your desires that they force you to leave your heaven. Now I understand the concept of entering the ashram of the teacher in spirit. I live the way I would live if, in actual fact, I would dwell in community with my teacher. His physical presence is not required for that.
At the latest after death, you will really be able to live together with Helena Röhrig or another great teacher in his ashram in the subtle world. But only if you prepare during your current earthly life for this lofty goal in such a way that you are in fact mature enough to be admitted. Undoubtedly, the best preparation is to practice already on earth to live in such a heaven. How this can be achieved, we shall discuss in the broadcasting Living in the Ashram of the Teacher.